Before we get started, do me a favor and smash that like button. I'd appreciate it. Okay, folks, as promised, I've got LT on the line here, and we're going to go over more of an overview this first go around. We may get into some detail on one aspect, but take it away, LT.
Well, good afternoon, Teddy. It's a pleasure speaking with you again. I tell you, this new announcement that came out about the meta chain from Theta is quite exciting, and I've been spending this afternoon going through and reading this white paper and trying to decode or decipher exactly what that means. But so far, it means things are good for people who are investing in Theta and the Theta Labs company. So there's a lot to unpack here. So this it's not a new chain. This whole idea of a meta chain is the same thing as metaphysics, or this so in the paper here, the word meta being the prefix, meaning to go beyond or be more than. So it's more than just the main chain, it's many other chains as well. So this meta chain, so that's the first time I've heard that terminology, but this meta chain is to go beyond being the main chain of Theta. And as I'm reading through this white paper, I can see more and more the statement that Mitch Luce said in a AMA did a while back, where he was asked the question, well, where do you think we are in this process of, Theta? Where's Theta in its maturity on a 1 to 10 scale? And he answered that question by saying, well, I think we're about 0.1. And I'm thinking, 0.1? What do you mean? You already have a chain. And as I'm reading through this, of course, they must have been working on this all the way back at that time. So they knew back then that they're coming out with this 4.0, that they're going to come out with a meta chain, and the possibilities are endless. I mean, absolutely endless, infinite. So it's quite exciting, and I can see why even back then I thought, and just in watching that AMA, I thought he looks kind of giddy when he answered that question, and he said, well, we're at 0.1, and it's because he knew what was coming. He knew what they were working on and the impact it could have. So I was, as I've been going through this, just really impressed with what they've come up with. So I'm hoping that with your experience in programming and all things computer related, that maybe you can clear up a few things for me, because of course I'm not a programmer or that tech savvy really. And so there's a few things in here as I've been reading through going, I've gotten out the computer and went and looked up what is this or what is that, to try to get a little more clarification. And so hopefully, with your help and the help of other people that are listening to this broadcast, they might say, oh, I know what that is, or can help with that. So I'm learning a lot from reading through the comments and things that people ask as well in your videos. So this has been a very, very good process for me. So I hope it is for others as well. So
yeah, you asked me yesterday what an SDK was, and I explained that it stood for Software Developer Kit. And remember, we were talking about Theta is concentrating on building the tools for others to come in and use, and that's exactly what the Software Developer Kit is. It is the tools that they will use to develop other applications on the Theta blockchain and on these subchains.
Right. And as well within this documentation, I was reading through there, I found there's a couple acronyms that they use like that. I'm like, I don't know what that is. So, and I haven't found the answer to it. So we'll talk about that as we go through. But the overall, the 30,000 foot view, if you will, of this is that it is, well, I'll just read it to you. And I found a paragraph in here that is the basic thing that they are trying to do. It's the big picture. And so I'll just put it in the words of the Theta Labs folks. The big picture is this: Theta's vision is to create the premier blockchain for all media creators, from small to mid-sized video platforms, to global entertainment enterprises, to the individual amateur creator. A one-size-fits-all format won't suffice, especially for large entertainment platforms that demand their own custom blockchain environment. A solution is needed that is orders of magnitude more scalable, more flexible, and customizable to different use cases, and permissionless, so that any entity or person can take advantage of these benefits. The Theta metachain is our solution to these challenges. So there you go. That is what they're trying to do with this Theta metachain, is create something that is scalable from the very small amateur person that wants to do something in video on a chain to a very large global platform. So that's their vision, and that's what this is trying to do. So it's a vision for Web3 businesses. So that was one thing I thought we're going to have to talk about. What is Web3 or Web3 businesses? Didn't quite understand that. Found some good information on those things. An overview of the Theta main chain itself, or meta chain itself, the background. I think we can do a whole video on this where we just talk about the architecture and how the things work or interconnect. There's actually quite a bit about that is very technical in nature, and I'm not the best person to be explaining this, but they are doing a good job at trying to explain it to where even a novice like myself could understand it. And then it's a video-focused Web3 edge computing infrastructure, and what that infrastructure looks like and how it's going to work together. And then so those are the big areas that I think we could break down into smaller topics or individual topics so we can go more in depth. So the thing I thought we could look at today that a little more in depth is, what is this Web3 businesses? So Teddy, you've been around since the Al Gore since Al Gore
invented the internet.
Came up, invented the internet. So what do you recall? What, let's call it Web 1.0, what that was to begin with, how the internet was in the beginning?
Well, we mentioned that before Al Gore invented the internet, which really he was talking about the quote World Wide Web. The internet itself actually existed years before that, and was used primarily for uh, um, universities and the government to communicate over what's called a modem. Stands for modulator demodulator. That's old technology these days, and
Right.
not used much. But that was
So it was pretty
the
much
Web 1 basically, and it wasn't really
right.
referred to as the web. It was just the internet.
It was pretty much a peer-to-peer system, though. If you wanted to communicate with, let's say it was one university wanted to communicate with another, they had to call, one would have to call up the other one directly. And it
Correct.
would then be peer-to-peer from one computer to another, using those tones or however it did it. Again, I'm not the technical person on that, but it was pretty much peer-to-peer. And there was nobody in between the two other than maybe the phone company that needed that structure there for it to work. So, Web 1 was peer-to-peer, and it was fairly private, except for, like I said, the phone company could be in between. So there had to be some security there if there was going to be, if the government was passing information, or once, you know, uh, one entity was passing, classified or highly secretive type information to another, they would have to code it in some way to keep it from being intercepted or being known if it was intercepted. So, but pretty much it was peer-to-peer. And then Web 2.0 came along in the early 90s. And that was actually whenever, big tech started coming in. These companies like AOL came up with a way to do email that was free, and everybody can get themselves an email account and be able to send email around. And then, of course, there were companies that came along that are no longer around now because it didn't work out so well, but MySpace and whatever. But these companies evolved over the 90s and then 2000, right up till today. And now then we have pretty much an internet that's controlled. It's not decentralized at all. It's pretty much a centralized internet. Everything has to run through a provider, such as Facebook or Amazon or any of these other big tech providers that we use, and indeed we become basically a part of. We are the product, right?
Oh,
It's our
absolutely.
data that's being collected. The things that we look at or we search for, or the terminology we use, or the attitudes or statements that people have. All this stuff is collected, and then that data is then sold. Google really is an advertising platform, right? That's really what they are. We don't go on there because we want to have our information taken and be advertised to, products coming to us. We go on to Google so we could find some piece of information, right? And but as we're looking for that information, they collect that data, and then they take our data and sell it to a company or somebody that needs that data to do whatever it is they intend to do with it. But we become the product in the end. We're the product. Well, Web 3.0, and I found a few really good articles that talked about Web 3.0. Web 3.0 is going back to being decentralized, a decentralized web, where again we're working, we're on the internet, but peer-to-peer, and our data, instead of us being mined, our data being mined from us and then being used to sell us products, we're going to have more of an opt-in capability, where, and this is part of what just last week when we were talking about Theta Board, that's a part of what they were talking about then, is that you're going to be able to set up your profile, say in the Theta naming service. You'll be able to set up a profile, maybe numerous different profiles, so you can use the one that best fits the situation you're in, so that you can control your data and control what other people can see or know about you. So with the Web 3.0, it's more of a return to the original web. No permissions going to be needed from a central authority to post something.
Yeah, nobody's going to be able to tell you can't say what you want to say.
That's right. That's right. No single point of failure. That is, there's not going to be a kill switch. Right now, if actually I was in a group last night and we were talking about a few things, and that was one of the things that was discussed, is in these platforms that are used right now, if you say the wrong thing, you could be deplatformed immediately. I mean, just within a matter of minutes, you could be taken down.
Yeah, just ask
or your
Cliff
post taken
High
down.
or Greg Hunter or Alex Jones. They've all been deplatformed off of YouTube.
Right. And then other whole apps or platforms taken down off of Amazon. Back during our last presidential election, there was a whole platform that got taken down because it was basically a competing platform to Twitter, and a lot of people were joining this platform because it was not being censored in the way big tech thought it should be, but this platform is being hosted on Amazon cloud, Amazon, what was that, AWS?
Yeah.
And they were taken down.
Yeah.
The whole platform wiped off.
Yep.
Shut down. So
much for free speech,
big tech has caused, well, we still have free speech. You just have to find a way to be heard. These big tech companies that have this capability to censor and to put forth or only allow through certain things that they want or would allow to be let through, well, they're private companies that can decide what they're going to allow on their platform or what they're not. Okay, but Web3 is a permissionless system. It's not going to have the big points of failure. So it's a new way of doing business. It's a new way of getting things implemented onto the internet. The thing about it is the decentralization and the new blockchain technology that's coming along is an area of we're going to have data ownership, and we're going to be able to be compensated, receive compensation for that. That if we the old model, which goes all the way back to like even radio, whenever we listened to a radio, which was coming over the airwaves, that there was commercials sold on that programming. So we would have to listen to those commercials, and then they would sell us the Brill cream or whatever it was that they were advertising on the radio. And then of course that came into TV, and we get free TV, right? We could watch over the airways. Back in the day we had 4 different stations, and that was it. But you would get commercials, free TV, but you had to watch the commercials. And so it was free, but it was being paid for through advertising. And then of course every bit of the products that were being sold, some of that advertising cost was passed through, or all the advertising cost was passed through those products. So we wound up paying for it in the end anyway.
Yeah, you showed your age, by the way.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people on here, gonna go, what the hell is Brill
What?
Cream?
What is yeah? Hey, they still make it. Or the fact that there was only 4 televisions. But I've been around long enough. I remember whenever TV ended at night.
Oh, yeah.
So, um,
The test pattern.
so
Say, what's that?
so as this web, yeah, what's that? Yeah, there's the Indian head. Time to turn it off.
Yeah.
So, as Web3 moves forward, it's going to become a decentralized platform where blockchain is going to be used, and you're going to have ownership of your data, and you can be compensated for watching those commercials. That is, for watching that programming that has commercials in it. You can be compensated for that. And so it's, I think, it's a whole new way of doing business.
Yeah.
And
it's exciting, and it
so
can't come soon enough.
It is. Well, it just takes a long time for these things to happen.
Oh, yeah.
We want them to happen, really quick, but the fact that it takes time also means there's opportunity for improvements, right?
Yes.
Just, television, for example, when it first came out, it was a blurry picture, on a small tube that you had to, adjust the antennas to get it to come in. And now we have, television on our phone that we can watch, high def, on our device just as we're walking around. So it took a long time for it to get to this point, but it over time also, with time also comes innovation. And so Web3 is the next innovation of the internet. I think it's going to bring us a more fair internet, enabling the individual to be more sovereign, have dominion over yourself, your content, what you're willing to allow out there. Control who profits from you.
Yeah.
And your information. So this just in general, it is a better system. So you can own your time. You can be compensated for that time. You can own your data. You can be compensated for your data. You're not going to be exploited as bad. It's not going to be where giant centralized companies take control of who you are and tell you what to think and what you can have, what you can do. So
Web3 is actually going to foster whole new businesses that don't yet exist. With Web3, they will exist. Matter of fact, you and I were just talking yesterday about the companies that will spring up that will basically keep lists of URLs, the whitelist URL and the blacklist URL, so that those that are running edge nodes, they may not want to participate in broadcasting certain content that is out there, and they will subscribe to one of these whitelisting services that will maintain that list. And those services don't yet exist, but with Web3 they will.
Right. Most people haven't even thought of the idea that they need to exist, but they will need to exist.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this is such just in the way that things will work will demand that there's new companies, or gives rise to new businesses, new business models, because of what's going to need to be, will need to be out there for this to work, and for it to work well. But I think once people start, and more people are starting to wake up to the fact that they are now the product, and people don't like being made a product. They have been for many years. They just didn't know it, but they're starting to wake up to the fact that they are the product, and they don't know how to get out of that. So this is an educational process that is going to have to take place, and again, that takes time, because most people don't like change. Most people are, it's good and bad that things are going to change, because most people are resistant to change. So they're going to have to be brought along, or given a motivation, or incentivized of why they need to change, why things need to change. And so that is all a part of what's going to have to happen with this new Web 3 come along.
Right. And
you were going to say something?
No, the YouTubes of the world that everybody pretty much uses, they're not going to go away overnight. But
oh no. Well,
and I don't think they'll actually go away forever either, totally. But more and more people that, have been deplatformed are going to be able to be truly free to say what they want to say, good or bad. And that's where those whitelisting services are going to come in, because, if I'm running an edge node, I may not want to participate in a video that, say, a satanic group were to put up, but they have a right to put it up, but I don't want to participate in them being able to say what they want to say using my computer. So that's where the whitelist services will come into play.
Yeah, as well as many other services that or technology companies. As I was reading through this white paper here, I'm like, man, that's a fairly technical thing. It's not going to be that hard once somebody figures out a model. And in my head, I was just thinking of a few of the new businesses that could spring up from this. And my brother-in-law and I were discussing an issue that they were having just a few weeks ago. He works for a school bus company that provides a service to the school of picking up and dropping off children, for school. Pick them up in the morning and then take them back home in the evening or after school. And both he and my sister both work for this company, and he's telling me of some of the problems they're running across and some of their major things. And he goes, man, one of our biggest problems is keeping up with all the video. They have video on every bus for every time it leaves the yard, and to track what happens on that bus. And he was telling me about that, and he says, there's got to be a solution out there for the problem that this is, all this video. And I said, there is. And he goes, what is? I said, Theta. I said, now I don't know how it would work, but there is a solution, and it's Theta. And I knew Theta was the answer as I was reading through this, about the meta chain and how it's going to work, and how there could be an infinite number. Just coming to my head, how, oh man, you could create a separate chain that all the buses then would be do live streaming on this chain. You're going to be able to do live streaming, which is what they need, and video capture, which is what they need, and storage, which is what they need. And so I believe would be possible to set up a company that would provide the IT structure for doing this for these school systems, where you go in for for a fee. You'd be able to equip their buses with the proper equipment that's going to capture the video, store the video, and data timestamp that video so that you'd be able to go back through and pull out what you need. I mean, I was just thinking of that was just one little thing, but you could have that for restaurants and bars. You could have it for homes, for security systems. I mean, anywhere that uses video. The friends of mine who have gotten involved in Theta, and they ask me, go, man, the price is down on Theta. Why is the price down? I said, well, everything follows Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down right now, so Theta's down. Well, this is the type of technology that's going to be able to break Theta away from following Bitcoin, because Theta itself is not a cryptocurrency. It's a crypto company, IT tech, using, cryptography and a blockchain technology.
Right.
So, and now they've developed it to where they can have, an endless number of subchains that can have all their own governance rules, and have the storage on the edge nodes, have all the computing power of the edge nodes, and be able to all be backed up and stored with no single point of failure. And that is just huge. It is so huge that this is a cryptocurrency that could break away from following just Bitcoins up and down.
Right.
Because it's not a currency. It's a company. It's an IT company. It's tech that
although it
is
does
needed.
have a cryptocurrency within it, that being T-Fuel.
Well, you need that for you need that for the gas fees on the chain. So the gas fees on the chain is what's going to help prevent attacks from outside, because it cost them too much to make the attack. So we need the gas fees, but that's the other thing about this, and we haven't gotten in this far into it yet, but those gas fees on all these, let's call them subchains, each subchain that is connected to the main chain, but each subchain will have 2 tokens established for that subchain. There will be a TNT20 token for that chain itself, and that's going to be a governance token, and there's going to be a gas fee token. That's T-Fuel. Like I said, this is an infinite number of chains that can be produced, and they will all use T-Fuel for their gas fee.
Yes.
Now they might have a separate token, a different TNT token that can be used for the governance of the chain itself. So let's call it, instead of a subchain, let's call it a company. Every company that sets up this subchain can produce their own TNT20 token. In fact, I did this myself back in November, when I was starting to play around with figuring out these things, and I'd seen where you can produce your own TNT20 token on the Theta blockchain. I'm like, well, how do you do that? And so I went in and did it. It's not hard to do at all. It's easy. It's free.
Yeah.
Produce your own token. You can, as many as you want. You can call it whatever you want it to call it. You can give it as many decimal places as you want it to have, and so on. You can control it completely.
There's actually a big dog token that you can trade for it with Theta Swap.
You can. You sure can. And so, but you can do that for yourself. So I'm a millionaire. I got 1 million of my own tokens.
Yeah.
Now, they're not worth anything because I haven't developed a use case for them, but you know what? I might be able to develop a use case for them, put those tokens to work, and then at some point they become, maybe have some value to them, at least to those people that be working inside that use case, whatever it is. So,
Well, I mean,
uh,
whatever utility you attach to them is what's going to give them the value.
mhm, exactly, and that's where these tokens get their value, is from their utility.
Yeah.
So, uh, so that anyway, that's exciting to me that the T fuel utility is going to be going up quite a lot. The other thing is the Theta token itself, and that these subchains that are created, the to be able to have this subchain, you're going to have Theta token staked to the main chain in order to have your subchain. And so all these companies will need to have Theta token and stake that to the main chain in order to have your subchain off the main chain. And you'll then use T-Fuel on that subchain. That T-Fuel price, or the what it costs in gas fees on that chain, will be determined by the operators of the chain. And so gas fees for one chain can be different than for another chain. And whenever you stop thinking about that, now fees on the Theta main chain is set by Theta, and we talked about those just a few weeks ago. It's 0.3 for a transaction fee, and 1 T-Fuel for a smart contract fee. So those fees on the main chain are controlled by Theta Labs. But on these subchains, the fees will be paid, or gas fees will be paid in T-Fuel, but those fees will be controlled by whoever's operating that chain. And so so even if the price of T-Fuel goes up tenfold or 100-fold from where it is now, the operator of the chain can then determine what it's going to cost to operate on that chain by adjusting the fees of the chain. Be paid in T-Fuel, but that operator will be able to set the fee for that chain.
Right.
So that's a pretty unique thing. So even if the price of T-Fuel goes way up, the cost of operation can be controlled by whoever's operating that particular subchain.
Yeah, and each one of those sub-chains, I believe, will have their own validators on them.
Yes, that's true too, on that chain. And so that's what another thing that's going to help with the governance of these chains and is with the validators on those chains.
And I
Right.
would guess that they would also have their own guardian nodes as well.
I haven't really dug into how all these chains are going to work just yet.
Right.
So I'm still getting there.
Right.
But I've read over all of it briefly, and then now I've been going back and going through this, and got fairly excited actually about the prospects of this Web3 and how it's going to work, and
I think it's going to be
how much
huge.
better it's going to be for humanity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
I think it's going to be good for the price of Theta too.
well, I've told people that I really wish I'd had the foresight back in 1990 and 91, whenever Microsoft was just coming along, and then Dell computers came along, and then Apple computers, and then, why didn't I invest in any of this stuff? I didn't. I thought about it, I looked at it, and I didn't do it. And if I just, back then put some money into it, wow, life could be really different today for me. But
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to cry about things we didn't do. I'm going to look forward and see what can I do coming up. What's the next big thing? And understand that even if I had of invested in those companies back in the 90s, would I have had the intelligence to stay in it?
Yeah.
As prices went up and the dot-com boom bust happened in 99 and 2000, would I have stayed in it? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's not, that's all speculation.
Well,
But
I really
I know where I am
believe
now.
I really believe that this introduction of the meta chain, the subchains, um, right now, why do you need to own Theta? Well, you need to own Theta if you want to run an edge or not an edge. You need to own it if you want to run a Guardian node. You need to own it if you want to run a validator node. But other than that,
Right.
there's no real need for you to own Theta because owning it and staking it doesn't really pay all that well, as you well know. But
Right.
with an infinite number of subchains, and with every subchain comes the need for Theta, I think that this is going to be a huge driver for the price of Theta in the next year or so. I really do.
Right. Now, and what it doesn't say about these subchains needing to have Theta staked to the main chain. How much Theta? It doesn't say. It doesn't say they have to have 1,000 Theta, like to be a Guardian node. It doesn't say. It doesn't say how much Theta, but they'll have to have some Theta. But the fact is, how many chains could be staked to the main chain? Well, that's unlimited.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you're talking unlimited, there's only 1 billion total Theta, and so how many different processes or companies are there? There's a lot more than 1 billion, and we know it takes 200,000 to be a validator, and we have 23 of those now. So you can take all those out of circulation, and you got to have 1,000 to be a Guardian node, and there's over 3,000 Guardian nodes. I'm sorry I didn't listen close enough this morning.
Yeah, there's
to know exactly.
3,471, I think, was the number.
Okay, so there's 3,400 Guardians. So that's over 3,400,000, Thetas taken out of circulation. So you start saying, well, how many Thetas already out of circulation because they're staked? Well, now then, wow, there's not that many Theta left.
Yeah.
Is there enough Theta left to do this? So that's the question.
Well, if you think
this
about
could
it,
get to be to
a gazillion different businesses out there may want to run their own subchain for various reasons, and in order to do that, they're going to have to buy Theta. They won't be able to just create a subchain without having Theta. So,
right. We don't know how many Theta, but they'll have to have Theta. Can you start a subchain with just one Theta? Maybe so. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I suspect not. But
right.
all we know is that you'll have to have some staked to the to the main Theta blockchain. But
Mm-hmm.
and I don't imagine it'll be just one. But it's.
Right.
We've yet to run across anything so far that names, that specifies a certain number. We just know that 200,000 if you want to run a validator, and I would think that it would be 200,000 to run a validator even on a subchain. And those subchains are going to.
But is it going to have to be 200,000? But that's the whole point of it, though. With these subchains, is that the let's call it the operators of the subchain will have the opportunity to set up their own set of rules for that subchain. So they might have to have 200,000, but 200,000 what? It's probably 200,000 of their own TNT20 token. And like I said, I created 1,000,000 TNT20 tokens with my own TNT20 token, and so so this is actually another one of those businesses. Somebody that could sit down, put together a website, a small team, and be able to go in and help a business set up a Theta subchain, right? Theta
Right.
meta chain subchain. That's a whole nother business that could be undertaken. It's just helping people understand Theta, how it works, and help them set up a subchain. So, somebody twist my arm hard enough, I might have to do that myself.
Yeah. Well, all these businesses that want to operate a blockchain, it's like, could they go out and create their own blockchain? Absolutely, they could do that. But why would they if they can, if they can leverage all of the security and the patents and everything that Theta has? Why would they not just create a sub blockchain on the Theta network and utilize
Right.
the benefits that Theta offers? I think they will.
Right. One of the things that I was reading through here and thinking about that this is going to be a disruptor, right? It even says so in the white paper that this meta chain concept is a disruptor to the way business is done now, to the way it's going to cause changing business models.
Yes.
And there's going to be a disruption in businesses, which we know, I've already said, most people are resistant to change. Most businesses are resistant to change until it becomes beneficial for them to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whenever it becomes beneficial for them to change, whenever it's in their favor, especially if there's a financial incentive.
Well, I mean,
Then
any
they
company,
will change.
any company that has, publicly traded stock has a fiduciary responsibility to lower their costs wherever they can, and so if utilizing the Theta blockchain and the sub chains, it's going to lower their costs. Their stockholders are going to expect them to do it.
Right. And so whenever I was reading through this, and this paragraph is right in here, and it's talking about this disruption, and it says, well, who is validator partners with Theta? Well, there's Google, Samsung, Sony. Ever heard of these?
Yeah.
Right. Who owns YouTube?
Google.
And who's on the board or of Theta? Well, Steve Chan, I think is his name. He's the co-founder of YouTube. So all those are large tech info type companies, and then creative artist agencies, CAA, they have several thousand artists that are signed to them.
And they all want their own NFTs.
Samsung Next. Yep. Samsung Next, which is the arm of Samsung that's supposed to be looking for what the next big thing is on part of Theta. Sony Innovation Fund. A company called Bartelsman Digital Media Investments, BDMI. Digital Media Investments. CAA, Silicon Valley Venture Capitalists, including DCM and Sierra Ventures. So there's big money and big tech that's behind the Theta blockchain.
Oh, yeah.
You think they know something's coming?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
So the thing that Theta is able to do with their video-focused edge node computing infrastructure, the Theta Video API, they're able to lower the cost of video encoding, storage, and delivery. They're also able to send it to multiple devices, including mobile, web, smart TVs, and set-top boxes, and more. So how do we get people to change? Incentivize them.
Oh yeah.
Users are rewarded for watching and sharing video. So, people are resistant to change. Companies are resistant to change unless generally there is profit motive somewhere. And so this is a part of what Theta is trying to do, uniquely trying to do. They have the patents standing behind them. The digital rights management patent is huge, massive.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole new way for an artist to, or content creator. There's different names for these type of people, but a whole new way for them to get paid.
Oh yeah.
And to be paid as long as you own the rights to that content that you created, that you uploaded, as long as you own those rights, hadn't sold them to somebody else, you're going to continue to get paid.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, Alien was talking about these subscription services like Hulu,
Right.
and there's a gazillion of them out there that will be able to start coming over and leveraging the meta chains on the Theta blockchain, and it's going to get to the
Right.
point, I think, within the next year here, where instead of you signing up with one cable provider and spending $100 or $200 a month to get a gazillion channels that you don't even watch, you're going to be able to subscribe just to the content that you're interested in and pay for it with T-Fuel.
Right. Or I mean, now the thing is, see, people have a hard time figuring out how to get T-Fuel, right? And so this is that other thing. Let's say, for instance, it's Hulu. Hulu goes out there and says, what we'll do is we'll move all our content over onto a Theta subchain. And then we'll come up with our own token for governance, and we'll be paying T-Fuel, but what we'll do is we'll accept dollars. And then those dollars are taken care of on the backside, turned into T-Fuel to pay the chain for all the edge node operators who are running edge nodes to deliver that Hulu content everywhere it needs to go. And so the fact is, the person who knows nothing about blockchain, who knows nothing about how to go buy T-Fuel or hold a wallet even, they don't need to. They already have an account set up with Hulu, and Hulu's going to take care of it on the backside. And the people who hold the infrastructure, who hold the edge nodes like yourself, are going to get paid in T-Fuel because that's what you've learned how to do. And you're going to get paid in T-Fuel, and you'll be able to use that T-Fuel, maybe swap it back and use it for paying rent, or throw it into the liquidity pool and get paid to hold it in liquidity pool. So
yeah, it's exciting.
figuring out how to do this so that the average person doesn't have to figure out how to go buy T-fuel. That's where adoption takes place. They just don't know they're adopting it.
Right. Well,
Understand?
I think the process of buying T-fuel is going to get a lot easier here over the next 6 months or so. Um, because of the need for it.
Well, maybe so, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe so, but does it need to? Like I said, with these subchains, this is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Because with the subchain, a particular entity, business, if you will, can set up and make it in such a way that the person using that chain doesn't even know they're using the chain.
Right.
But they are. And that's where adoption happens. But it happens without the knowledge of the person who's making the adoption.
Oh, yeah.
Because what did they want in the first place? They wanted the content. They didn't want to learn about blockchain or how to use T-fuel. They wanted to be able to sit down and watch a ball game. And, they're able to do it now. This goes into live streaming, video on demand. Oh my goodness, it is so deep, so far and wide that it's hard to fathom.
Yeah.
It's hard to fathom.
Well, I think that with this video, which by the way we're hitting almost an hour now.
I know, that's why I said we're going.
We're just scratching the
this
surface of
Right.
this this announcement. I mean the PDF, the white page is 26 pages long.
20.
Yeah. So this video series is probably going to be a number of videos.
Well, right, and what I would like to do is for people to understand what's going on, to make them a better educated person about whether they want to invest or not with Theta. Of course, I'm all in, right?
Yeah, you and me both.
Big Theta proponent, and sharing that enthusiasm with other people. I do it with people I know face to face, and then had the opportunity to meet you, and now I'm able to share it with people I don't know, which I think is great. I see this attitude of being inclusive and comprehensive within the Theta community in particular, on the Discord channels, on the different Twitter and different places that different people, content creators on YouTube, are saying, look, here's what's going on there, and they're trying to get this information out there so that others understand or know what's going on. And what a great opportunity this is, in my opinion. I believe it's a great opportunity, but everybody's got to do their own homework, and I'm just trying to get some information out there to help that process take place.
Well, I'll tell you, people are loving these chats that you and I are having. They're thirsty for them.
Well, it just shows that there are people really looking for information. They're just looking for information, and not that I have any special information. You can go, and you posted that link this morning. Anybody can go print this off and read through it. Most of the time, especially reading through things like this that are somewhat technical in nature, I don't have a background to know exactly what all of it means, but I think through this process that we have, it helps us to understand it better. And somebody else will come along that knows a particular thing, and then help throw that information in there. So this is, I think, it's a process that we're all going through and trying to figure out what's to come and what role can we play in it. So there's one big piece of news in this that is just kind of glossed over. It's just kind of assumed, so to speak. But I was reading through here, and it's talking about a new and unique business models could embrace NFTs and Theta Pass as a way for users to own their own annual lifetime subscriptions and be able to resell them at any time. And I read through that and I'm saying, what is this NFTs? I know what NFTs are. What's Theta Pass? So,
well, I've
jump on the old interwebs there. Go ahead.
I've heard about Theta Pass. I don't know much about it, but the one thing that Alien Like had mentioned was when people buy one of these NFT subscriptions, when they resell it, there will be a every time that NFT is resold, let's say it's for Netflix as an example, they'll get part of the resale. So every time it gets resold, they'll get something for it. It won't just be you; it'll be them. They'll get it when the first time it's sold, and then they'll get it every time it's resold, which is cool.
Right, that's a part of the digital rights management thing.
Right,
I believe, but in this terminology here, it says NFTs and Theta Pass on a way for users. And I'm like, what's Theta Pass? And I went and put it in the search engine, and it took me to thetapass.com. And it's just thetapass.com. It's just a page that says Theta. And you open it up, it just says Theta. And there's no other information there. So this is one of these things that's yet to come out.
Yes.
From Theta Labs.
Yes.
So that's a whole new thing called Theta Pass that is in the works right now. I was trying to imagine what it could be exactly, but I think it's a part of this digital rights management process, so that say music. Here's how big would that be if songs or music, which is then recorded, sold as an NFT or put in a Theta Pass, so that the ownership of that song is still retained by the artist that recorded it, but the user of the song, that is myself listening to it, or somebody playing it in a restaurant, or every time it changes hands, that artist gets paid, or every time it's played, maybe the artist gets paid some small fraction amount of T-fuel, who knows. So there's definitely, if you think about the amount of money that could be generated, the amount of T-fuel that can be generated in the use of these types of things, is just staggering.
Yeah.
So
it's exciting stuff, and we'll be definitely digging deeper over the coming weeks.
Yes.
So I thank you for spending the time to talk to me about this, and recording this for the viewers who they're thirsty for it, and they're going to be waiting for this to be published, which hopefully will be in the next 24 hours. These
all right,
these longer videos take a little bit of time to render with this old kludgy computer I've got. I'm gonna have to buy me an upgraded computer soon, I think.
Well, you should be able to do it with all that money you're making in the LP there. So.
Oh, absolutely. I've been thinking about that too. All right, well, we'll shut this down and check and make sure we got a good recording.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, that's a wrap for this presentation, so cue the music. If you enjoyed the video, then hit that thumbs up for me, and I'll see you in the next video.